And Kaustubh is right here in our Mumbai studios to discuss more on those trends. Kaustubh, great to have you on the show. Thanks very much for taking out the time. Happy New Year. Do you think that this is turning out to be an exciting year for investors? Are they upbeat about making more money in the markets?
Thanks, Tanveer. So I think definitely so. We've had a great 2017. Flows and returns on the funds have been exceptionally good for the past year, and the way we've kind of looking at 2018, we expect that kind of momentum to continue from retail investors. Just talk about some of the trends that we did see in December 2017 and through the entire year of 2017. Clearly, large caps, we've seen buyings in a lot of banks, but December was slightly different where some of the unusual bank names came up. So it's traditionally been the private banks that have been seeing a lot of buying, but you had a bunch of QIPs coming in from the PSU bank space, and you had Punjab National Bank, which has obviously seen a lot of appreciation since the announcement of the bank recap, which saw a fair bit of buying through the QIP. L&T is another name. I think it's been one of the popular stocks in the construction space, and we continue to see buying. That's something that continue to happen through December. Again, HDFC Bank, popular name, so I'm not really going to delve into too many details regarding that. Some other interesting plays that are coming up are Interglobe Aviation. I think that's a counter, especially in the airline space. The only counter that's really seeing a lot of activity. We've seen an OFS that's happened from Interglobe in a few months prior, and the buying activity continues on that counter on Interglobe Aviation. The last name again, from a sector which has been ignored largely through 2017 and only started picking up steam over the last few months, Sun Pharma. That's a counter that we've been seeing a fair bit of buying from managers, and that's really been adding up for 2017.
Yeah, what's interesting is what I'm looking at in the list of the top stocks that have been sold into, or where the estimated sale value is the highest. Infosys, perhaps I'm not surprised because the consensus view there is bearish. Maruti, however, is part of that list. IndusInd Bank is part of that list, and Castrol India too. It's seeming like that money managers are feeling, okay, let's take money off the table for some of the high flyers and reallocate that capital towards where value exists.
Sure. So actually some interesting trends. So if you look at Infi's been the only IT stock that's seeing buying through 2017. The number, as it suggests, in December was sold off predominantly because of the buyback tendering that happened through a lot of mutual funds, and that's where the selling is coming up. But if you look at the 2017 numbers, technology, it's Infi that's led the pack, and the rest of them have been largely flattish. So clearly, this remains the only pick in the technology sector that managers are positive on. Some of the other names that we've seen, Maruti, I think the stock has done, like you said, done exceptionally well through the last few years, and there's been a huge appreciation. So there's been some money that's been taken off the table. And in fact, if I look at the aggregate 2017 numbers, it's probably the largest sold stock by fund managers for the year. Some of the other interesting names, IndusInd Bank, from a sector which we've only seen buying. I think IndusInd Bank is that one counter which has been flattish or marginally negative for the year. Again, some sort of profit booking that's happened, or a more play towards the HDFCs, the ICICIs of the world, which have seen more flows come in. So that's largely been the trend on flows. There's so much money coming in to funds. We've seen buying on most counters. There have been a few counters we've seen selling, but I think the trend continues to see a lot of aggressive buying on counters.
Oh, most definitely. What about PSU banks? I mean, do you think the trend is, the opinion is changing there, which is getting reflected in the trend?
So I would say most definitely so. We've seen that PSU banks, the SBIs of the world have always been popular with a bunch of fund managers, and that reach has only increased to the rest of the industry. But Bob, PNB, we've seen Union Bank get some flows again through the QIP that they had in December. So there is some, I wouldn't say overarching optimism, but definitely certain counters on that PSU bank space have witnessed buying purely because of, obviously, post that announcement or recap, there is a little more solidity to what you can see on their loan books and their balance sheets.
Okay, if I were to ask you, what are the top 3 trends that managers are most bullish on in this year, in this calendar year? What would you list them out to be?
So I think one of the stories that continues is financials. We've seen that play out over the last couple of years, and that still continues. Though we've seen that probably banks are not the largest pick right now when you look at month-on-month numbers, but clearly the trend is still an upward moving trend in terms of financials, and that's not necessarily only banks. We've seen a slew of insurance company IPOs, life and non-life, and managers have bought in quite heavily into that. Asset managers, we had the first IPO come out through Reliance, and there are a few more that are slated. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of optimism and demand for those counters. So financials clearly remains one of the favorites. The others that we're seeing are trends on other, the utility space. We saw a fair bit of pickup on something like a NTPC or a GAIL, and we expect that to continue. The other sort of contra play, and very selectively that's happening, is on two sectors. That's actually three sectors. One is communication services, an often ignored sector. Bharti has gotten a lot of traction, and we can see that continuing through 2018. Clearly the other counters not so much so. And healthcare and technology, again very selective buying. So healthcare, you can practically name the stocks that have managers are putting money into: Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy's, to a certain extent Aurobindo. That's really been the trend. Technology, clearly, like we said, it's in fee predominantly. No other counters really gathering that much momentum from managers.
Okay, let's see what fund managers do this year, and we can only hope that the returns in 2017 would be replicated in 2018 as well. Kaustubh, thanks very much for taking out the time.